Hello, dear viewers. This is Andre Baisley, and I'm pleased to present my new story on the Alien Relatives channel. Breathe with your root chakra, Artyom. This process attracts the financial flows of the universe into our aura. A nasal voice echoed down the hallway, drowning out the hum of the humidifier and Sobire. Dasha pulled off her sneakers and paused by the coat rack. In her own living room, personally renovated down to the last baseball scratchy, veritable surrealism. Was unfolding. Right in the center of the room, on her beloved oak parquet floor, which Sasha sanded herself, a folding massage table, an acid purple color twisted. Around the table, shrouded in the blue smoke from smoldering incense sticks, fluttered Shana, her husband's sister. She wore a robe with ethnic patterns reminiscent of a sofa cover, and around her neck dangled wooden beads the size of walnuts. Artyom, Dasha's husband, sat on the edge of a designer ottoman, his expression solemn as he held a bunch of dried herbs reminiscent of a bath whisk. What's going on here? Dasha asked calmly, tossing her keys onto the nightstand. The keys jingled loudly, startled Snezana, causing the ash from her wand to float in a greasy stain right onto the carpet. Oh, Dasha! Artyom jumped up, guiltily hiding the herbal whisk behind his back. He always looked like a schoolboy caught smoking behind the garages. And you're alone. We have a snowman cleaning the space here. Her retreat center has been closed for quarantine. She'll be seeing clients here for now. She settled in for literally a month. Dasha slowly shifted her gaze from her husband to his sister. Snezana folded her hands in front of her chest and tried to fake an enlightened smile. It came out like a meerkat rock whose beetle was taken away. Snezana. Dasha's voice was even, without the slightest intonation fluctuation. If your portable witchcraft altar hasn't disappeared from my apartment along with you in 10 minutes, I'll call a cleaning service and send you a bill for a deep carpet cleaning by registered mail. Dasha, come on, what are you doing? Like a low-frequency vibration. Zalovka protested, waving her the smoking wand. Why push the negativity right away? We're family. I'll cleanse your chakras for free, Patakama. Your aura is like an old Valenki, completely stuck in everyday life. Dasha didn't want to argue with the esotericists. She silently walked into the living room, grabbed the purple massage table by its aluminum legs, dogged it in half, nearly pinching Snezana semen rolled. Sunda conta concord sove. Hey, take it easy. It's a German alloy, Artyom yelped, rushing to his sister's aid. Time's up, Artyom. Dasha opened the front door and set the table out on the landing. 7 minutes left. Don't forget the beads. Snezana, puffing and muttering about karmic knots, began fussily throwing her stones, essential oils, and glass balls into a canvas bag. Artyom stood to the side, shifting from foot to foot in his expensive velvet slippers. When the door slammed behind the hall, Dasha opened all the windows of Nostij. The frosty autumn air instantly swept the smell of cheap chuli from the apartment. You're a cruel woman, Dasha. Artyom muttered, plopping down on the sofa. The girl is in crisis. She needs help. She's my sister. And I'm your wife. And this apartment is mine. Doish. Dasha snapped, turning on the robot vacuum. But long before you came into my life with your brilliant startups, your sister cans her chakras in a rented room autumn. She won't see clients in my house, period. Artyom rolled his eyes theatrically. It was his entire character. Plasticine, flabby, made up of ambition and resentment. He worked as development manager at some company that was heading. Mostly tornos was bankruptcy, so. Dasha, on the other hand, owned a small but profitable workshop restoring antique furniture. She was used to working with her hands, stripping off old varnish, identify rot, and filling cracks with durable epoxy. She treated people much the same way. She saw the structure and didn't tolerate rot. You're selfish, her husband muttered, demonstratively turning away to the television. My mother was right. A man shouldn't live on someone else's property. Damn it, mistress. Pack your things, Artyom. Dasha said casually, heading to the kitchen to put the kettle on. The TV in the living room went silent. Artyom appeared in the kitchen doorway, his face stretched like an old woolen sock. What do you mean, pack your things? You're kicking me out because of Snezhka. I'm kicking you out because this is the third time this month you've tried to turn my house into a mess. Forse, your crypto investor friends drank my wine until the early hours. Then you decided the balcony was the perfect spot for a mining rig. Now, a magic services salon. Find yourself a place to live by Sunday. You can go to your mom's and you can stake your claim there. Dasha poured herself some green tea, grabbed a mug, and went to the bedroom. She knew her words were irrevocable. The next few days turned into a sitcom. Artyom decided to play the tough guy and declared a full-blown Italian strike. He refused to move out, arguing that he had a legal right to live where his things were. He had a lot of things, a sneaker collection, spinning rods he'd never remaso, a Serenticon and a box of gamepads. Dasha didn't waste her nerves on arguments. She acted like a seasoned surgeon. On Wednesday, Artyom discovered that his car, which he usually parked in Dasha's building's underground parking, couldn't get through the barrier. Dasha simply revoked his pass in the management company's app. What the hell, Dasha? He yelled into the phone standing in the sleet at the entrance. The security guard won't let me in. Everything's, she replied calmly, sanding the threaded leg of an antique chair in her workshop. The parking space is registered to me. And you're a transit guest now? Find a space in the courtyards. They say there are sometimes gaps between the trash bins near the 5th building. On Thursday, he discovered that the home Wi-Fi password had changed. His wife shrugged in response to his indignant cries. The internet is registered to me. You haven't paid for it for the last 6 months. If you want to surf the net, share it from your phone. Saving money while developing discipline. By Friday, Artyom was starting to lose ground. He paced the apartment, puffed up like a mouse on a grain of salt, constantly whispering to someone on the phone in the bathroom, turning though water for cover. Dasha pretended not to notice these spy games. She was getting ready for the weekend. On Saturday, her 8-year-old daughter, Polina, had an important rhythmic gymnastic balance competition in a neighboring region. On Friday evening, the doorbell rang. Dasha opened it. Nadezhda Viktorovna Korovina stood there. Her mother-in-law. She was wearing a leopard print coat that made her look like a sofa in extremely poor taste. And in her hand she clutched an enormous shopping bag. Next to her, the ubiquitous Snezhana was shifting from foot to foot. "Hello, daughter-in-law." Nadezhda Viktorovna stepped forward, trying to push Dasha aside with her weight. "Mother, let me in the house. You and I need to have a serious talk about me in the family." "Yeah." Dasha didn't move an inch. She braced her hand against the door frame, blocking the entrance. "Hello, Nadezhda Viktorovna. It's late. Polina has to get up tomorrow. She has a train at 5 a.m. She's already asleep. What talk? What talk?" The mother-in-law raised her voice. Her double chin trembled slightly. "My son is calling me and complaining that you're driving him out. You're making fun of a man. You've cut him off from the internet, driven the car out into the cold. What kind of domestic economy is this? On the contrary, he's your legal husband. He's a grown, capable man who forgot he was living in someone else's house," Dasha retorted with, changing her tone. "Tomorrow my daughter and I are leaving for the weekend. When I return Sunday evening, our teams of things shouldn't be here. If you've come to help him gather his socks, go ahead. Yet. But you're not spending the night here. How dare you?" Snezhana shrieked over her mother's shoulder. "Mom, can you see this toxicity? Her aura is black." Nadezhda Viktorovna took a deep breath, preparing for a full-scale declamation. But Dasha beat her to it. "Nadezhda Viktorovna, if you start yelling in the stairwell now, Baba Toma from apartment 75 will come out. She has high blood pressure and a very bad temper. She'll call the police after. Then you can't say good night to Aura." She took a step back and smoothly but forcefully slammed the door right in front of the leopard print coat. Artyom emerged into the hallway. "You didn't let my mother in." He widened his eyes, feigning in insulted innocence. "Your mother can take you right now." Dasha pointed to the two duffel bags with Artyom's things, which she had kindly packed herself, already gathered in the corner. "Go to Mami, Tale, tu Ayoma. Tale, I'm leaving tomorrow at 6 a.m. The apartment will be empty, so that when I return, the keys will be on the table and you won't be here." On Saturday morning, Dasha and her daughter took a taxi to the train station. Polina, a girl with an iron grip and a pragmatic mindset, was silent the entire way, reading a comic book. "Mom, is Daddy completely nuts?" she suddenly asked without looking up from the page. "Why did he bring Aunt Snezhana with those stinking sticks? They made my swimsuit smell like smoke." "Dad's looking for himself in the..." Dasha chuckled. "Let him look elsewhere. We won't have smoked swimsuits at home." The competition went brilliantly. Polina took silver in her age category, and Dasha ordered a huge pizza to the whole to hotel room to celebrate. The mood was great until Sunday afternoon when a message from Baba Toma appeared on Dasha, because stole Okadna's phone screen. Their neighbor, Tamara Ilyinishna, was a woman of steel, wore berets in any weather, and knew more about the movements of people in the building than all the security cameras combined. Dasha was friends with her, sometimes helping her secure the wobbly doors on the pensioners' Ogun Amit old kitchen cabinet. The message read, Dashka, hi. Do you have a circus with horses here? Your husband is carrying cardboard boxes out of a truck. Your mother-in-law arrived with 2 suitcases and a potted ficus. They're a strange little outfit, too. Some trunks are snaking around. They're planning on wallpapering, I suppose. Dasha stared at the screen, forgetting about the pizza. She reread the text twice. Archam's logic, which had previously seemed simply childish, suddenly hit rock bottom and reached the level of clinical insolence. Apparently, Nadezhda Viktorovna convinced her son that they needed to stake out their territory, and then the impudent daughter-in-law wouldn't go anywhere. She'd get used to it, grow fond of the cramped quarters, but no offense. Classic Korvovin family mantras. Dasha didn't dial her husband's number and throw a tantrum into the phone. It was pointless. People who bring a ficus someone else's apartment behind their back don't understand words. They only understand actions. Fields. Dasha put the phone down and quickly began packing her things into a duffel bag. Finish your pizza. We're leaving right now. We need to catch the next express. Something happened. Polina jumped out of bed instantly, shaking off crumbs. Rodents have appeared in our house. While they weren't taking a taxi from the station to the house, Dasha made 2 phone calls. The first was to her good friend Oleg. Oleg was in charge of a team of strong guys who were doing dismantling of any complexity before restoration work. Oleg, hi. Are you free now? Great. I need your gazelle and a couple of your arkarovtsi that can carry heavy things out of ul. Quickly and without unnecessary questions. You know the address. I'll meet you at the entrance in 40 minutes. The second call was to Granny Toma. Tamara Ilyinishna, you home? Great. Can you look out into the stairwell? Is my light on there or not? Right now, dear. The neighbor rustled her slippers into the receiver. Yeah, it's on. Yours are making noise there. His mother was giving orders about who was putting boxes where. Tayoma was swearing on the phone about the food delivery. I could hear him a mile away. Thanks, I'll be there soon. Dasha paid the taxi driver. Oleg's blue gazelle was already parked near the entrance. The foreman himself, a broad-shouldered man in paint-splattered overalls, jumped out oink. And Mihan with his 2 equally impressive assistants. What are we breaking, Dasha? Oleg asked cheerfully, pulling on his construction gloves. We're not breaking anything. We're just making an emergency move. Go up to the 7th floor. Wait for me by the elevator. Dasha and Polina followed them in. In the elevator, Dasha gave her daughter clear instructions. Polya, you stand next to Uncle Oleg. Don't go inside, no matter what on Sniga. And Grandma Nadia shout at you. Don't pay attention. Got it? Got it? The girl nodded, clutching her backpack tighter. Upon reaching the 7th floor landing, Dasha's first step was the main electrical panel. She knew the wiring diagram in her building very well. Opening the metal door, she found the right bank of circuit breakers, flipped the main switch alarm down, cutting off the power, and hung a small padlock she'd saved from the wreck. Shormikola devarastor op bopos in the panel, just to be safe. She approached her door. It was quiet inside. Apparently, the sudden power outage had caused a slight shock among the intruders. A muffled rustling sound came through the thick steel door, then footsteps. The latch of the lower lock clicked, then the upper one. Dasha stood directly in the center of the doorway. Oleg and his burly men towered behind her. The door opened just enough for the steel chain draped over the inside of an owl. Nadezhda Viktorovna's nose poked through the resulting gap, and her right eye flashed. The apartment was dark. The mother-in-law obviously expected to see a plumber from the housing office, so she couldn't yell at him for the power outage. But upon seeing Dasha, she was taken aback for a second, and then her face twisted with triumph. "Look, the former relatives have arrived," the mother-in-law shouted into the apartment, barely opening the door wings. Dasha and her daughter froze in awe. She slowly, demonstratively took a step back, looked at the shiny brass number 42 on the door, hastened. Yes, it was her apartment. Then she simply said, Oleg, remove the barrier. Everything happened so quickly that Nadezhda Viktorovna didn't even have time to close her mouth. Oleg pulled a pair of powerful industrially bolt cutters from his coverall pocket. He inserted them into the gap, pressed the blades against the links of the door chain, and with a short crunching sound, bit through the hardened steel like dry spaghetti shina. The remains of the chain clanked to the floor. Dasha pulled the handle, and the door swung open. The hallway of her own apartment was a chaotic mess, dimly lit. Cardboard boxes lined the walls. The same ficus tree stood by the mirror. Snezana peered out of the kitchen, flashlight in hand. Artyom emerged from the bedroom, his shirt unbuttoned. Dasha, you were supposed to come tomorrow, he blurted out, backing away and tripping over a box of dishes. Surprise, Dasha replied coldly, stepped over the threshold. I see you're building a romantic nest in the dark. What have you done? Nadezhda Viktorovna snapped at about it, trying to straighten her leopard-like shoulders and blocking the way. It's like you're breaking into a family's house. Who are these guys? I'll call the police now. We're registered here. Well, that is, we have the right to live here. My son is the boss here. Call them Nadezhda Viktorovna. Dasha folded her arms across her chest. At the same time, tell the local police officer how you entered someone else's private property. While the police are on the way, we'll carry out an expedited evacuation. Dasha turned to her colleague. Guys, these boxes, these bags, these plants, these personal belongings that aren't in the closets, all of this goes a stairwell into the elevator. Take everything out except the furniture. Time's up. Olego's guys worked professionally. No bickering, no emotion. The first one silently picked up two huge cardboard boxes, pushing aside. The dumbfounded Artyom with his shoulder and carried them out into the entrance hall. The second one grabbed my mother-in-law's enormous checkered bag. "Don't touch, it's my crystal," she barked. Nadezhda Viktorovna lunged at the loader, but encountered an insurmountable obstacle in the form of Oleg, brought back who gently, but like a tank, pushed her into the corner hallway 8 "Woman, move away from the loading path, observe. Safety prekilling bushens. Oleg barnik bossala, take the ficus under your arm." Snezana began pacing the hallway, shining her flashlight in different directions. "My tarot cards, stop! Don't disturb the vibrations. You're destroying the portal," she howled. Yuna Tranka snatched the bag of her incense from the loader, and the loader merely chuckled and carried the bag out the door. Artyom finally found his voice. "Dasha, are you crazy? This is my mother. You're throwing us out into the street at night. I will never forgive you for this. We will divide this apartment through the courts. This is a joint action." A joint action? Dasha stepped almost right up to him. Her eyes narrowed in the dim light. She seemed absolutely ruthless. "The apartment was bought 2 years before you put a ring on my finger, Tyoma. You have nothing here. You're not a square meter, not a chair. You haven't even paid the utilities. Take your women, your slippers, and your grand plans and get out, or the yellow fall, or the next from the 7th floor straight onto the pavement." She spoke quietly, but her voice was so utterly confident that Aryam turned pale and pressed his back against the door frame. All his feigned masculinity evaporated, leaving only a confused boy whose favorite rug had been taken from him. The whole thing took exactly 12 minutes. Oleg's guys worked like a conveyor belt. Mountains of other people's things grew on the landing, blocking the passage. Grandma Toma, standing in the doorway of her apartment below, watched Genbu's Polbon watch the Prus with genuine interest, chewing an apple and occasionally nodding approvingly Yuzani. When the last box had left the hallway, Dasha approached Nadezhda Vigdu, who was sitting on an ottoman, breathing heavily. Klama kafata gapriga a gusogo fenanon bero klafar bopa kasevo arm pidast. "Out, Nadezhda Viktorovna," Dasha said, pointing to the open door. "You'll regret it, you snake in the grass," the mother-in-law hissed, struggling to her feet. Her leopard coat was askew, her hair was disheveled. "My son will find himself a normal, obedient wife, and you, with your character, will perish alone. Alone. A loner, promise." Dasha almost smiled. "Go, you're holding back the draft." Artyom squeezed past Dasha sideways, his eyes downcast. Snezana ran out after him, dragging a yoga mat behind her. When the last relative one was outside the threshold, Dasha took the key to the electrical panel from her pocket, went out onto the landing, removed her lock, opened the door, and turned on the switch. The light in the apartment flashed joyfully. Then she turned to the Korovin family. They stood in a curious group against the backdrop of mountains and bags and boxes. Artyom nervously fiddled with his phone, and Snezana tried to catch her balance, standing on. "Oleg, thank you so much. I'll give you a bonus on top," Dasha said, transferring money through the app. "Guys, you're the best." Contact us, Dasha. It's more fun to carry furniture than to break down walls. Oleg laughed, putting away the bolt cutters. The team headed for the elevator, carefully skirting the bags. She entered the apartment where Polina was waiting for her. The girl was calmly sitting on a kitchen chair and swinging her legs. Dasha closed the door. Clicked the new, heavy internal bolt which Artyom never reached in the quiet of the apartment. Only the light hum of the refrigerator was heard. There was not a single scratch on the parquet in the hallway, not a single trace of someone else's presence. 5 minutes later, Dasha brewed fresh coffee in her favorite white mug. Polina finished her juice and crunched on the apple that Baba Toma brought her. A cold autumn wind howled outside, but inside it was warm, clean, and absolutely free. Perfect order, justice, restored not by complaints, but by precise, merciless calculation, tasted excellent Arabica, and complete silence. Namis. Thank you for your attention. This was Andre Billy. Until next time.